What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you are new to the channel, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content that we have coming out. And with this video, we are jumping into Batman One Dark Knight. This will be book 1 of 3. This is written and drawn by Jock. And what Jock is trying to do here is show one story that is spanning over the course of one night, with Batman aiding the transfer of a metahuman known as E.M.P, trying to take him to his permanent home at Blackgate Prison, with the situation being in hand until it wasn't. Every light in Gotham goes out, the police are in disarray, and Batman has to fight his way through Gotham City to accomplish his mission. And so with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright gang, so as we dive into book 1, we are picking up on Monday at 7:42 p.m. And right now, Gotham is bracing as temperatures are soaring sky high. Not really knowing why this is happening, it doesn't give much context to it, but it lets us know that it is becoming unbearably hot. But right now, Batman and Alfred are having a conversation in preparation for Arkham Asylum, preparing their outpatient. They are preparing him for transfer to Blackgate Prison. But that is not the only thing that Batman needs to concern himself with. And that is because petty crime all over the city is seeing a rise, with tensions increasing every single hour in this heat. It feels like this city is on a point of breaking. And while Batman isn't too concerned with that, with all of this energy in the air, with all of this heat, it is very dangerous trying to transport E.M.P. And as Batman is keeping tabs on all of this, we see what seem to be street-level goons, and they are making their way onto the streets, and they plan to follow Batman, because Batman will lead them to E.M.P. The gang calling themselves the Two Boys. With us unsure of what their motives are, we do know that a good amount of this city is going and following that bat signal. Now with this transfer, Batman is going to be up in the sky. With him keeping tabs up high, GCPD is going to be the escort bringing him across town. And Alfred is definitely keeping an eye on all the levels of E.M.P, currently having him in a sort of stasis. They're trying to stabilize him the best they possibly can, because the last thing they need is E.M.P erupting and taking out the entire city. But with him loaded up in the back of this truck, with GCPD starting their convoy, their mission begins, and they are trying to make their way all the way across Gotham. And we are given a map of the route that they are going to take. And along the city, we are seeing hotspots popping up all over the place. Petty crime is on a rise, gangs are out in numbers. The police, they are run thin all across the city. Gotham PD cannot be keeping up with this. With the police struggling all across the city, at Blackgate Prison at 7:46 p.m, they are prepping the cell that is going to hold E.M.P. Prepping his pod and prepping the stabilizing serum that is going to keep him in check and keep him from exploding. With Blackgate now being prepared and ready for the transfer, all they have to do is get across town. Now this is where we pick up with Montoya and Rita Vasquez. They are currently making their way to what appears to be some kind of conference, some kind of meeting, an event honoring the best and brightest among them. And we have Commissioner Gordon, who is currently talking to all of the people, but he quickly gives up the podium and has Miss Vasquez come up, and that is because she is the head of the Prison Bureau of Gotham City. And when she gets up there and does her speech, she lets us know that there appears to be some kind of new investments into the prison system, something of her doing, talking about outdating old systems that no longer work, bringing in some kind of newer initiative, something she claims that is going to be safer containment for all involved. And the poster child for all of this is E.M.P, aka Edward M. Pressler, saying they are moving him from Arkham Asylum, his old cell, to a Blackgate cell that is state-of-the-art and will be perfect for him. This is her opportunity to show this initiative is going to work. And she hints to what happened the last time he escaped. Because the last time he escaped, something horrific happened. And because of that, they are ensuring that that never happens again. And she believes this initiative is going to do it. And it all begins with this one transfer. Now she's coming in and promising what we have seen 1,000 times over in Gotham City. Someone coming in and saying, you know what, I'm going to do things differently. I'm going to change it. We're going away from the old ways. And at the end of the day, they usually end up realizing Batman is needed to coexist with this city. It's the only way that you can have any kind of control over what goes on. But as she gives this speech, we have gangs moving in on the location. Being able to see Batman up in the air, it gives them a good idea of where this convoy is. And what we see is one of these gang members holding a rocket launcher. Having that rocket launcher in hand, he unloads it and it shoots directly at the vehicle holding EMP with a giant fiery explosion. This is pure chaos. And with that, EMP is awake, with the vehicle on fire and gang members opening fire right on the streets at Gotham PD. This initiative that Miss Vasquez has been trying to do looks like it is coming to a fiery end. And with the gang members believing they had the upper hand and that was relatively too easy, this is where we see the Dark Knight come descending down on them. And these guys are nobodies. We see Batman make absolute quick work of them, leaving them bloody and bruised down on the ground. Batman's priority is to go and check on EMP, going and seeing that he is still strapped into the vehicle with some kind of consciousness. He is definitely in rough shape. And this is where our gangsters, they decide they're gonna hit him with another rocket. With the explosion going off, with Batman taking rounds and having to block them, he turns away just for a second away from EMP, turning back, seeing that he has already disappeared. And so this whole operation has gone straight foobar. And we have an argument between both Gordon and Miss Vasquez. The conversation is on the topic of really her messing this up. Gordon believing this was a bad idea from the start, that his place in Arkham was more than sufficient to hold him, believing that transferring him was the more dangerous of the two options. That is something that should have never been done, and now we have proof because EMP is now on the loose. And so with the city on the verge of breaking, Batman is doing everything he can to try to hunt down EMP and bring him in safely. And Batman tries to relate to him that he simply wants to help, to calm down, not let his vitals get too high. Because if EMP explodes, it is going to be devastation. And it doesn't take long for the gangsters to realize that both Batman and EMP got away. It appears that these gangsters had every intention of killing EMP. And so with the chase on, we see them making their way through Gotham City, from rooftop to rooftop. And as they pass by one room, we see a young boy by the name of Brody, with glowing red eyes. It appears he is going to be playing some significant role as this series continues on, with all of the gangsters all around the city hearing the news that EMP is on the loose. You have some coming to his aid, you have others coming to kill him. And so with Gotham on the brink of all-out war, back at Blackgate, they are highly concerned about his escape. Because the serum, the situation, the pod, it needs him to create some kind of stability. Without him, it will just burn out. And because of that, they won't have somewhere to put him. But right now, that isn't even their biggest problem. Because their biggest issue right now is that EMP, his vitals are spiking. Having his power suppressed for so many years, finally being able to feel all of this energy, absorb all of this into him, it is making him more powerful by the second. He is literally a ticking time bomb getting ready to detonate. But Batman is not giving up, doing everything he can, staying right on the tail of EMP, making his way through this city. As they make their way to Broadway, this is when the gangs start locating them. with them opening fire on the rooftops, completely open in the streets, not having a care in the world, with one goal in mind, and that is to take down E.M.P. And if they can get Batman as well, that is 2 birds with 1 stone. But what we see is E.M.P. get a hold of some very high power electricity, being on Broadway, where it is full of neon lights and tons of power sources. We see him start absorbing electricity. With him grabbing onto this power line, we see him supercharged. And as the power builds up inside of his body, he cannot control it, he cannot contain it. Batman doing everything he can to disconnect him from the power line, but it is already too late. He has too much power. He is already too charged. And as gangsters down from the ground shoot rockets up to the building top, we see E.M.P. get to the point of explosion. Right before he detonates, he says the word Brody, and falling down from the building, with the rocket detonating the ground underneath his feet, we see E.M.P. go falling from the sky. He falls all the way down, landing directly on the Batman spotlight. We see a detonation that covers the entirety of Gotham City. And in one giant flash, everything shuts down. Vehicles shut down. Electricity, the power grid is completely offline. And we see the young boy Brody going up to his rooftop and seeing that this is a city-wide blackout. Getting a panned out view, getting that skyline view. It is absolute darkness. And it is now 9:01 p.m. Batman bloodied, he's bruised, going over to check on E.M.P. only to see that he is still breathing, having no communication back with Alfred or anybody else, with E.M.P. now being unconscious, with Blackgate being 4.6 miles away, Dawn being 8 hours away, with gangs all in the streets. Batman has to get on the move, and so throwing him over his shoulder, Batman is about to do things the hard way. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. You know, it's not often that we get somebody that both draws and writes. Usually they're good at one and not the other. But in this case, I really do enjoy this story. It's really just a brawler, fight through the city, kind of escape from New York type thing. And what we are doing is essentially taking away all the technology that makes Batman Batman, making him get down on the ground, fight in the nitty-gritty, trying to make his way through the hordes of gangsters, the people that would want to stop him, either to kill E.M.P. or to take him back with them. Regardless, he has one goal in mind. With 4 miles to go, 8 hours to get there before sunup, Batman is going to try to do what he does best and work in the shadows. And I think 3 issues for this is a really good number of issues, because we're just talking about the course of one night. So this doesn't need to be some huge story arc. It doesn't need to be entirely intricate in the storyline itself. 3 issues getting to the point, throwing us into the fray, and watching as Batman tries to fight his way through this entire city as it looks like it is on the verge of burning down. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out, and until the next breakdown.